Do you want to start, Mark?
Yeah. All right. All right. So we want to thank you, Callum, for interviewing with us today at ELIME.
No
I'm very
worries.
excited to chat with you. Recently, we watched Twas the Devil, and I really enjoyed the whole experience of it.
Thank
So I
you.
wanted to get to know a little bit more about you personally. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and where are you from and all that and your background?
Sure thing. Yeah. So I am from the UK, England, just outside of London. Um, and we were actually just before we started recording, having a lovely conversation about the accessibility of independent filmmakers being able to link together through things like this, and also the accessibility for people who don't live in the big cities over the last 10 years to be able to make independent films and stuff. And I'm in a very similar boat to you guys. I'm not in London. I'm just outside of London, a little bit further away from all of the hustle and bustle. So yeah, I'm very much in the same boat as you guys. Independent film is the driving force, and it's my avenue into the film industry for sure. And yeah, so I'm a writer and a director, and more recently a producer, which was my role on Twas the Devil. And yeah, I love movies and I love independent film, and it's my dream, it's my passion, it's something I've loved since I was, well, to be honest, before I can even remember. My mum always says to me, like, I was talking about making movies like the minute I could speak, kind of thing.
Really?
So, yeah, guys.
So
what about you guys?
Yeah, how about you? But what age would you say that you really got into film? That you can remember?
I mean, I've always had a camera with me, like even like from, 15 years ago, I'd have like one of the really bad sort of like 480p handheld digital cameras with the worst sound possible, but I was still, making, because that's the best way to learn, isn't it? Like you learn through doing, right?
Yeah,
And
just testing, just playing with it.
Exactly. And so, in our, like, luckily for us, with our age range and stuff, we have been very lucky to have access to things like that, and access to be able to play. The generation before us, you have to assume you had to have been very rich to even get hold of a camera,
Right.
let alone be able to use it, but luckily for us, we can make them on mobile phones, so very lucky generation for sure. But that's since I was very young, basically.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the process of Twas the Devil, and what inspired you to create this film.
Sure thing. Okay, so I got a message from the writer-director Mark Garvey, who I'd worked with many times before. And he was basically saying, like, he was gearing up for the new project. And when we met, it was a very, when he first pitched it to me, it sounded very easy. It's like, it's going to be shot entirely outdoors. It's going to be shot in the woods, so no real issues in regards to location. And I was like, yeah, man, this sounds awesome. I'm well up for it. Then he dropped the ball that it was going to be a choose your own adventure movie, which meant that it was going to be incredibly difficult task to produce, just by nature of the fact that every scene you shoot, you have to shoot twice.
Yes.
Every, the film itself becomes 4 times longer in terms of production. These were things that, I had to really sort of gear up for before we started, because I was like, I know roughly how long an independent film usually takes to make. And I had to times that by 4, I had to times it by 5 to know sort of roughly how long this was going to take. And I think it ended up taking about 4 months, beginning to end. Yeah, but we were shooting, quite often, with only taking a couple of weeks break, sort of in the middle. Yeah, it's about 4 months of shooting.
Oh, wow. 4 months of shooting. Yeah, when I watched it, it was so fun because, at the end of each, segment of the video, he'll look in the camera or something, and then you have like this video on the left side and the right side, and you just get to choose. And I used to love those games. There's like this I
Sure.
think it's a Walking Dead game that I was so obsessed with a few years ago, and I used to love
Mhm.
being able to like kind of help navigate the main character's journey. And so
Sure
that
thing.
I really enjoyed because I've never watched a film like that. Like I've
Sure.
only played the games but not watched the film. So
Sure.
Can't
Yeah. I mean,
help but
that
think.
was a,
Oh no, you're
no, sorry,
good. You're
go on.
good. Go ahead. No, say what you're about to say.
I was going to say it seems like it's the most modern form of storytelling, right? Especially for film, because only very few projects have been made in this way. And what I was so drawn to about this project is that it's set in the 16th century, right? So it's very old-fashioned, old-fashioned costumes, old-fashioned language, but utilizing the most modern of storytelling techniques. It was a very interesting sort of juxtaposition there.
I can't help but think that you actually were inspired by somewhat the story of the Good Samaritan to a degree, at least as an underlying thought in my
Sure.
mind, because I just saw like with all the choices he had to make, that's like what came to mind. When I think like folklore and tell, like that's the journey of the Good Samaritan, everything that he was going through,
Sure.
the lead character. What were the inspirations for this film? Like, I love the dynamic of like him having the choices and like you never know what his path was going to be. Like, this is like state of the art. Like, were you a part of Quibi at some point or something? Like, because this was the same type of style of what they were doing with that app that unfortunately, saw the death in itself in
Yeah,
2020.
yeah, indeed. Yeah, that didn't quite pan out, Quibi, did it? No, no, we were never involved with Quibi or anything like that. We were always very independent, but I do see what you mean. And inspiration-wise, Mark, the director, was just very interested in the aesthetic of the sort of folkloric films, and especially in Britain. I know in America you guys had like the Salem witch trials and all that kind of stuff, which also feeds into the inspirations. But in terms of British folklore, obviously we had the Black Plague that infested Eurasia and Africa in the 16th century. So that was a heavy influence, which, funnily enough, weirdly sort of related to today, right? We had these stories sort of panned out before coronavirus hit, but when it did hit, we were like, wow, like this is so relevant to what we're filming, because this was set in a time where people did have to cover their face from other people, and yeah, we found that very eerie and very connected to modern events, which a lot of the scenes were designed to be connected to modern events, but that one was actually a bit of a mistake, but a good mistake in a way. Other than that, it was just movies that we love, especially the movies of A24, the film production company, who have made great films such as The Witch, The Lighthouse. Take your pick. They
Absolutely.
made some wonderful films. Yeah.
And I love the cinematography. Like everything was so brilliantly laid out. Like I love. Is there any way like I could see a glimpse of the storyboard behind this? Because I know it was done well. Like I could see it because I could see
Sure.
the thing I loved about the cinematography and what made it so brilliant to me was that for minutes at a time I could just take frame by frame and it could tell a story within itself. And that's what really
Absolutely.
captivated me throughout the whole storytelling, because I was like, it was a slow burner, but the pace was so brilliant because of what I was visually seeing. So who
Sure.
did this? Was Mark in charge of the storyboard too? Because I see had multiple roles in this. How many people were
Mark, yeah,
actually
Mark is,
on the set of
yes,
this? Because it seems like
that's that.
yeah. Well, it was actually a very small number, to be honest. It was a very core crew of us. So on the smallest of days, we would maybe have 5 people, which would be Mark, who did take the role of camera as well as directing, as well as writer, someone on sound, the performers in front of the camera, and usually 1 or 2 extra people to lend a hand. So it was actually a very small team of people, and especially in the UK at the time, we were dealing with the rule of 6 because of COVID. We were only allowed 6 people at any one time to meet up, so we had to deal with that a lot. Yeah, so Mark shot the film, and as you're completely right, incredible looking film. And it's funny what you said about being able to stop it on any one frame, because Mark actually spent a very long time adding like very secret imagery into the frame. So if you watch it again one day, keep an eye out, because he actually like hid faces in the trees and stuff like that.
I noticed that. I noticed that. I
Yeah,
noticed that from the get-go.
yeah,
Yeah. I was paying attention.
yeah,
Like, yeah. The way the cameras, did
yeah.
you use multiple? How many cameras did you use on this?
One
You've
camera.
got to be kidding.
One
Yeah.
camera? What?
Yeah, one
You
camera.
used one
Yeah,
camera
man.
to shoot this?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, there was maybe a couple of days where we used two, strictly because the camera we used for the film didn't have slow motion capabilities. So we did have to get a different camera for some of the slow motion scenes. But other than that, entirely one camera. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
How many days? Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, no. Who was the script supervisor, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, it's actually funny. Eli said the script supervisor deserves an award, and I totally agree. But it's actually, again, because it was so independent and so few of us, it was more of a case of everyone shared roles, right? So it was, okay, so who's in front of the camera today? Okay, so you get in costume, you get in front of the camera, and you take script today, kind of thing. So it was always different.
Team.
Yeah, sure. But as a main call out, our lovely female producer, Mairead, she was often on script, and she did an absolutely fantastic job, I must say. And in regards to the storyboard, as you asked, Eli, there wasn't actually a physical storyboard. Mark just was very knowledgeable about what he wanted at any one time. On the script itself, we did say this particular line of dialogue will be on a wide shot, or this one will be a close-up, or a low shot, or a high shot, or whatever. But other than that, it was actually more sort of on the day, sort of planning the shots,
Wow.
which is amazing when you actually watch it, because it looks
Yeah.
like it's been all very thought out,
How many films have you guys worked on together? Because it seems there's no way this production came together with this the first time y'all meeting or first projects you're working on together. This cannot be the first time you're working together.
No, we've done a good few. So Mark is so I mainly come from short films, directing and writing short films, and Mark, I don't even know how he does it, but he manages to sort of write and manage to produce maybe a feature film a year, real powerhouse, and yeah, we've let me think. So we've done about 4 or 5 feature films together, where I've helped in very different capacities each time. But I think he, as a filmmaker himself, has maybe made 8 or 9 feature films, most of which are available to watch, some of which star me or star me in some capacity. So look out for
awesome.
that. Yeah, and we actually came off of, before Twas the Devil, we actually came off the back of a massive project, which was a Marvel fan film that Mark created. Mark is a massive fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and as such, we picked a British character called Union Jack, and we made a 10-episode web series, each episode being half an hour each, and that took about a year to make.
And where is it online
project.
already?
It's all online. It's on YouTube. Yeah, search Union Jack, the series, and that's all available to watch. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you ever get any feedback from Marvel Studios about this, or?
We actually didn't, and I was weirdly expecting that we might, because there are obviously Marvel fan films out there, but there are very few Marvel fan series, like a fan series that's completely unheard of. It was
absolutely
just it was such a big project, and I thought maybe we'd hear something. We didn't, but it doesn't take away from the fact that we all had the best time making it, and it was a super fun year.
Yeah, so you guys like... Go ahead, Eli. Go ahead.
Well, no, how many years have you been doing film together, you and Mark? Because obviously this is like...
So funnily enough, Mark was actually my lecturer when I was at college. So I have known him for about coming up to 11 or 12 years.
Oh, wow.
And every now and then I would star in one of his films while I was one of his students, just for like fun. But then since I left college and sort of became my own filmmaker, we've worked together countless times. And I think part of the reason is that we have a shared passion. And, you know, that as you get older and the real world sets in and the world of work comes into it, and your time is divided and you can no longer really spend time on these passion projects, you start to lose people, right? So, you know, back in the college days, you know, there'll be 20, 30 people willing to help out on any one project. But now people have work commitments, and rightly so, you know, people have got to make a living. But because of that, it becomes so much harder to find people with that shared passion or that shared ability. And so due to which me and Mark sort of just latched onto each other as two people that are always willing to help each other. And that's an important thing as well, is the desire to help each other.
Yeah. So have you ever acted in anything, or are you just behind the cameras?
I mean, I have acted. I wouldn't consider myself to be a great actor. I am actually in Twas the Devil, depending on what avenue you take.
Okay.
But it is something that I am passionate to like start and try. Okay. And so I am in Union Jack web series. I have a pretty big character in that, and I am in Twas the Devil for a scene or two. But yeah, not a massive actor yet, but hopefully in the future you might see me pop up in a few more things. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Maybe you need to come to America.
That's the dream, baby. Like, that's the dream.
We'll have to connect.
That may be future plans.
Right.
That may be future plans, working with you guys, because I love the passion.
Oh, mate.
When you look at yourself as a creative, we're kind of very similar in a lot of ways, just because we both take on the roles of like whatever has to be taken care of on the backside. You have to do that with independent film. We take on the roles of being Absolutely. On the front side of the camera when we need to, or just because we like the character or we can add something to the story, but then we take on the other side of what we need to handle on the business side. So like, how do you find that balance as an independent? Because, you know, that's where everything can kind of become a disaster.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole sort of side of marketing and producing is something, it's almost like the last step that we need to learn, because it's such a new world for us, you know. Funnily, there's a funny story with when we did Union Jack. In fact, we started trying to advertise to people through Facebook and the like. And when you advertise through Facebook, it says like, we will aim this advert at people that have these interests, and then you pick the interests. And we picked interests like Deadpool and just Marvel in general, you know, hoping that they would be the kind of people that would be interested. But what we found was the people that are into Deadpool are like the Ryan Reynolds kind of like smack talkers, you know, the ones that are like,
oh, definitely,
you know, the ones that, yeah. And we found that we did get a lot of smack, you know, just through advertising to these particular people. So then we had to reconvene and figure out, okay, so who do we want to advertise to? You know? And that was a massive learning curve for sure. And, you know, with something like Twas the Devil, which is in its own right a very niche film as it is, you know, we have to figure out like who wants to see this, you know, like we need to, you know, it's hard, man. It's really hard. Like, and it gives me a lot of respect for the people who work in marketing, because it's something you kind of don't think about, you know, especially me. I make my movies and put them on YouTube and hope for the best. I never really put much thought into marketing, you know. That's the short answer for now. Yeah.
No, I get it, because marketing is like, that's kind of the big business side of it. If you really think about it, that's really the film business, the business of making the film. But as a creative, our objective, we just want to get it out there. We just want to get it out
Absolutely.
there. But I think it's really important, because me and Mark were having this conversation the other day about it's important to like, I'm thinking about like YouTube's everywhere. It's international. It's all over the world. More people have access to that than some other video platforms that could possibly help out the creative more. But I feel like you have to kind of like take that loss to a degree. You have to take that loss and that leap of faith, because you don't know in what country, what third world country somebody's seeing your project, what kid, whoever that is that you've inspired because this is what they
Yeah.
wanted to see, or you've given them a new perspective. And like, I don't want to like let that kid miss out on anything. So that's what really like gets me sometimes. I'm like, yo, we could go to this
Sure.
platform or tighten up and go to this streaming platform or push our work so we can get more well known. But at the end of the day,
Hmm.
what about the creative that's just like us? That may
Yeah.
have,
Sure.
that's just trying to get their foot started, and like seeing someone that like yourself specifically, because y'all, this film was so well done. And how many months did you say it took to do this?
I think it was about 4 months of shooting, and then a lot of time spent in the editing room. But that was all Mark who did the editing and made the incredible final polish. So I think the whole project, all in all, was probably about 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've really put a lot. You guys put so much effort into this, and I can tell. I was reading reviews actually this morning of like you've gotten reviews from all over the world with this film, "Twas the
Sure.
Devil," and which one stood out to you the most? Because I can tell you one that stood out for me.
Okay, interesting. Well, it's actually been really, really well praised, which was fantastic because ultimately we're just having fun in the woods.
Right.
The project. We all take it very seriously, and we want what we do to be really good. But when it comes down to it, we want to enjoy what we do, right? So we're just having fun, and then when you get to the crunch and you see that all these people actually really enjoyed it, it kind of gives you a second life. It kind of goes, oh yeah, of course, there was a bigger reason to do this. In terms of the best review, there was a podcast that reviewed us quite recently, and they said that how shocked they were that depending on the choice you made, it was a completely different movie, because they just thought that like each choice would sort of like give you a kind of slightly different like scenario, but would basically be the same movie. But no, based on the first choice you make in the film, it's a completely different movie. And I think it was cool that people watched it enough times to know that. They could have watched it once and gone, okay, yeah, I've seen what I need to see now. But no, they watched it again, and then they found, oh wow, I made a different choice, and now I've just got a completely different movie to show for it, kind of thing. And that
Please
was a
tell
cool
me.
review.
Yeah, please tell me that there's actually going to be. This has to fall into a world of its own. "Twas the Devil" has to have a world of its own. It has to. Like you built it with this. It's like a new age folklore. So where does it go from here? Where is the story going to go? Like, and are you going to do more interactive films like this that are original like this? Because this just. It really set the standard
Sure.
for the indie creative. It really did. Like in 2021, it really set the
Absolutely.
new standard. So like,
Yeah.
what's your, it's like almost, I can already tell, but I do want to hear from your own mouth. What do you deem success as a creative for yourself? What do you deem success? Because breaking that mold of always having to seek acknowledgement from hierarchies or having to have, all these accolades. What is your version of
Mm.
success? Because to me, you are no different than some of the greats that we could name from here till tomorrow evening. I really feel like that just because of the
That's
effort
cool.
and the work that you guys have put behind this. It's so well put together
Mm.
and thought out. What is your version of success?
Well, thank you for that for starters. That's very kind of you. Our version, well, basically, we don't get paid to do this, right? We do this because we love doing it, and the success for me comes from the day when the project is finished. And COVID has put a bit of a stop to this, but with every previous project, there's been that moment where we can all sit together and we can all watch it, and we can all sit there and go, we did this, we made this. If it wasn't for Mark sitting down and writing this thing wouldn't exist. And all of a sudden it's on the screen and we're watching it. Amazing feeling. And I get that feeling every single time I make a new film. Wow, like and it's such a beautiful example of collaboration and about shared passions and people that share in the same kind of things that you love. And yeah, there's never been a financial benefit for me to do this. If the day comes along where a film production company says we want to offer you $1 million to make this movie, of course we'll take it. But until then, it's not about the money. It's about the love of the craft. And I'm sure you guys agree and feel the same way.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because since I was like young, I was thinking about the conversation you guys had a few minutes ago about the young creative who may be like looking at this interview, maybe looking at your films, our films, and they just feel inspired. And sometimes I feel like we just have to put it out. Like I feel like we live in a day and age, especially with social media, to where like there's so much content coming out, and I feel like people feel the need to rush to put new things out. But I really am a firm believer in passion, and like anything that I put out, I want to put out at the right, like at the time of like, okay, I'm inspired, this is what I want the world to see, and bam, that's all that it matters. And like you said, Callum, like of course we would love $1 million, but that's not the sole focus.
So who did all the artwork?
Well, well, specifically, there's a guy called Brad Benford who did the artwork that appears in the film, the maps and alike that appear in the film. And off the back of that, he has made some of the posters, some of the artwork. A lot of the artwork is done by Mark again. He really is a jack of all trades.
Wow.
He somehow can do anything. But what we've also found is, because of the visuals of the film, there have been so many artists that have been willing to make a poster or make a piece of artwork based on the project, just for the fun of doing it. So we've ended up getting all these different pieces of artwork from different people, which is awesome. It's kind of like fan work, which we've never had before, which is really cool. Yeah.
I love it because I'm seeing you repurpose everything with different visuals. It's almost like, well, it's necessary for this type of film because it's interactive. Do you think you guys are going to attack another interactive film? Because it's almost like you've set such a high standard for yourselves. Where do you go next? Where do you go?
Well, we're always of the opinion of we want to push ourselves and we want to do something incredibly different each time we work on a project. I was speaking to Mark the other day, and he said that he's always waiting to be inspired by the right project. He can have 10 or so projects on his mind, but until he has the one that really inspires him, we won't go forward. And I feel the same way about my project. So, that never say never about another interactive film. That is very possible. I think our next project, we've done that. That was great, and it was a success. I think we're going to try something different for the next project, whatever that may be. And then, maybe further down the line in the future, maybe we'll come back to the interactive stuff. Yeah.
So do you have any projects currently that you have in mind of working on?
Well, yeah, I mean, during this lockdown period, I am trying really hard to write my first feature film. I've always worked in the short film narrative, and I feel I'm very good at writing short films. But I've always equated it that if a band can write a single, like one song, very easily, but to write an album and have all the themes of an album all work together and everything like that is a completely different task in itself. And I equate that to writing a feature film. Like writing a short film is easy. You pick one theme, focus on it. Writing a feature film, you've got so many more characters, you've got so many more themes to tackle. And I am finding it very difficult to write a feature film, but it is kind of like my own film school trying to write this thing. It's a massive learning curve. So I'm currently working on that. I'm sure Mark is working on various scripts. I have maybe 4 or 5 short films that I'm sat on at the moment, waiting until lockdown is over so I can start on those. So yeah, the future is bright. It's just a case of waiting for all this stuff to blow over. What about you guys? What's in the pipeline for you?
A lot. Actually, speaking of projects, we will be starting like a slasher horror type of project. I'll have to send it to you. It's called Shed, Someone Hears Every Death. And actually last year, me and Eli both starred in it. I wrote it. And it's so funny because it started off as a short film just for like Halloween. And then it just growed into this big thing, into like a mini series. And so within the next few months, we plan on shooting it and having it out later on this year. So I'm excited about that.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's what we're saying. It's about the the idea that you latch onto. You know, it can come from anywhere, and it seems that it just came from you guys having fun making a little short
Yeah,
horror film, and then all of a sudden the idea comes about, right? That's how
yeah,
it can happen.
yeah. We have a lot going on. You know, Eli has a big film. Well, it's our team, but a big film that called Intrusion that he wrote. He's the lead actor in, and that's going to be our first, you know, big film that comes out this year. So we're really excited about that, getting ready for the marketing and all that. And
That's
our
fantastic.
website, the ELIME website, you know, check it out. We're very excited about that. We have like different content creators we're working with who are like working on writings and, you know, various forms of art.
Yeah, content creators
Fantastic.
like yourselves. That's our objective. We're probably we're taking a different route of things. So we're giving back to talk to creatives like yourself, because that's always been the goal and objective, is to um, work from the grassroots level with people and eliminate that hierarchy, because it gets in the way of the creator's ego, and it gets in the
Sure.
way of the actual work getting done. Because yes, we should always reach for the standard of what it means to be on a professional film set, professional film set, especially, you know, working under certain guidelines, safety rules, stuff like that. Especially you don't want, especially if you don't have insurance, probably shouldn't be filming anyway, technically, legally. But you know how it is being an independent creative. You kind of have to make whatever you have work. So it's embodying that and taking on the challenge of working and seeing people like you from all over the world, and talking to the real, true, honest creative. Because I've been to quite a bit of festivals, you know, shook a lot of hands, and I've seen like the interaction, and sometimes it's almost like a thirst trap, to be honest, of like people, you know, crabs in a bucket, constantly all trying to like, well, is not genuine connection of like, who are you? I really want to get to know you. It's like, well, what can I get out of you? And that's true. That's what networking is, obviously. But to just take that out of it and getting to know the individual, like when we have our first exhibit, which will be next year, will be digital. The first couple of years will be the ELIME exhibit, which will bring everyone together, all the creatives like yourself and Mark, together in one place. And then eventually our third or fourth year, we're actually going to do our first huge live exhibit with all our sponsors and creatives. And it'll be an honor to have you guys come over here that time. And like, we want to make sure you are wined and dined and you're having an excellent ball of a time, because we want you to have an experience over here, which is probably not that far from experience over there, but, you know, with a little bit of touch of, you know, exquisiteness and whatever we can give you, because it'll be great to meet the same people that we got to interview, you know, and bring on the show and the podcast, because that's overall the goal, is to grassroot everybody into working in a network within ourselves. That's what we're focused on.
That's fantastic. That is a really great sort of 5-year plan that you've got there. That's really fantastic. I look forward to potentially coming over then. That'd be awesome. If we can make it happen, that'd be great. Yeah.
Oh, we're definitely making it happen. Trust me, the 5 years starts today. You know, everyone thinks the journey starts like, it just happens, but no, we both know that it's like, no, the real stumbling block is the 10-year roll of getting there. You know, the challenge of figuring all the trial and error. And like, do you have any words of inspiration for any young creatives like yourself?
It's weird, because it's like, I feel weird saying anything, because I feel like I'm not there yet, if you get what I mean. But that being said, I do know that I am actually very far, but you never feel like you've made it, right?
Yes.
Right.
That's part of the being a creative. You're always like very hard on yourself. You never feel like you've personally made it, but I am aware that, you know, I have been very lucky to have created and have worked on some very cool things. And I think the words of advice would be just do it, you know, just like, you know, don't worry about the naysayers, don't worry about the people that are there to put you down and say that it can't be done, because it can be done. You know, if you have to do it on your mobile phone, you know, speaking about film specifically, if you have to do it on your mobile phone, do it on your mobile phone. You know, you can make a short film on there. You can even get editing software on your mobile phone. You know, people, if you want to do it. You can do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that. I remember being in high school and really wanting to just like get into like the business of the industry of film. And I remember I got like a few of my friends and I wrote like this little short, like I didn't even know what a short was. I just knew I wanted to create like a film, and it was like a slasher. That's why it's so funny that the first film that I put out this year that I've been working hard on will be like a slasher. But the first one, I got like 3 or 4 of my friends, and I was like, hey, do you mind just acting, being in this little whatever? I had like a cheap camera that my aunt bought for me for like a birthday or something like that. And actually, Eli, I'm gonna have to show you. I think I have the trailer on an old YouTube channel or something, and it's so funny to look back at now. And
Yeah.
it's just, I just feel like being like from like a small town, not having the resources or not even knowing like at first originally how to like connect with people and getting into it, like what you said about like just recording it on a phone or whatever, like I just highly recommend that for anyone, because it's like practice, just it's just practice, and it will prepare you and get you excited for like seeing films like Twas the Devil, because I feel like, as a creative, we feel like, hey, we're not good enough yet. We don't have a big name, but I really feel inspired by you, honestly. And I feel like there are like young, kids who will see that film or like will watch this interview and they will say, oh my God, I'm so ready to create a film now,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, passion starts it all, right? Passion starts, and the possibilities and the job offers and the things will come later. Just
Yes.
start with the passion. Start with, the undying drive to do it, and everything else will follow.
Yeah, I think like now we live in an age of like, trying to do something now, like in the present, but also worrying too much about the future. But when it comes to passion, I've learned that, just deal with it now. And you're always, as a creative, we're always going to have many more creative projects, that we're going to do. So we shouldn't just, get stuck on one thing all the time.
Sure.
And just focus on the
Absolutely.
present.
And to the people that think to themselves like, I don't have, I don't have access to any people at the moment, being that, we're in the times of COVID, I don't have any access to people, or I don't have any access to locations or anything like that. Then just take your phone out and just get some beautiful shots of trees and leaves, and, get some photographs, start up an Instagram channel, just start getting your brain adapted to the idea of looking with a critical eye, and looking with an eye for aesthetics and beauty and composition. And you'll find that when you eventually get the camera out and the people in front of it, you are framing it differently, or you are thinking, oh, I could get that shot as well and that shot as well. Everything leads to everything. Just do what you can do.
Absolutely. Well, Callum, thank you so much for this interview. We appreciate it. We definitely want to get you and Mark back here sometime next year,
Yeah.
After things have snowballed, to see where you guys are and where we are. I just want to thank you so much for sitting here with ELIME and talking to us. These young creatives are going to be so inspired. Like, everyone has been talking and asking about this interview with you guys,
Really?
we have
That's
personally
awesome.
told about this film. And we are looking forward to the world of Twas the Devil, because I know it's coming. Mark has got to create this. It has to turn into a book, a cartoon. Something has to, like animation, something has to continue the story. I mean, I will as a fan fiction if I have to. I will, because it was a great story.
We would love to see that, man. We would love to see that.
I will
You can
then,
make a fan
because
fiction.
I love it. No, you guys started something that's, I think this is, I might be early on this, but this might be a cult favorite. This might be a cult favorite. I really
Thank you
think
so
so.
much.
I think you have the potential, and like I'm going to keep up with you guys. I'm following you and everything. Definitely don't forget to subscribe to us if you haven't already, to the website. But
Sure.
I will let you know everything ahead of time. We both will, of when everything is going to premiere and showcase your film. I want to do multiple articles reviewing this project, so people can actually, to convince people that you need to go with the interaction. Because how many possibilities did you have? Tell us real quick. How many possibilities was it? Turn up 50 something?
Like 50 or so possibilities, eight possible endings.
8 possible endings, yeah. That just in itself already says you have to watch this movie at least 8 times.
Right.
Yeah,
for sure.
to get the understanding that if you really are a fan, you have to watch it at least 8 times. So
Absolutely.
yes, But we want to thank you for that, and we'll definitely put all your information below in the video. But thank you for
Thanks.
coming on the podcast and talking with us. And last but not least, Mark, do you want to end with this?
Yes, we just want to say keep creating.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, guys. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Callum.
Bye-bye.
All right, take care, man.
Alrighty.
Bye-bye.
Bye.